Welcome to the Raising the Standard show. I'm Dr. Andrea Ramirez.
And I'm Danny Consino. Today we're going to be talking about perseverance.
Yeah, we are. It's just often what you see is that we get tempted to give up.
Yes.
And so we know that the Lord does not call us to give up, that He calls us to be more than conquerors. And so we want to take some time to figure out how to do that from a practical standpoint. What's the mentality that you need to persevere? Scripture talks about it in James, that we should consider every trial with pure joy, because we know it's a testing of our faith that develops perseverance. And so we're looking at that topic today. We've got a great lineup today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Today we have with us Luis Juarez, who has a great story. You're going to enjoy this.
God has given him a definite message that you will not want to miss.
Absolutely. And Catalina.
We do. We have Catalina Avila. She is a passionate young leader who speaks truth, and we're excited to hear about her challenge. And then Luis is going to give us some practical tips later on in the show. It's just going to be a really exciting time, one that you will not want to miss. So we just want to go ahead and jump into our interview. We have Luis Juarez here with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're just thrilled that you're here, and you are you serve as the Missions and Spiritual Life Director at the Baptist University of the Americas.
That's
in
right.
San Antonio, Texas.
Yes.
And originally you're from?
I'm from Nicaragua, a very small country in Central America.
Yeah.
But I've lived in the United States, grew up in the United States from the age of 7 years old.
Okay, so you've been on the stateside for a while.
That's
so
right.
Well, we're thrilled that you're here with us. You just have a
Absolutely
powerful
welcome.
message, and we know that our viewers will be blessed. And we wanted to ask you, when it comes to the Lord, what
Yes.
do you know for sure?
You know, if there's something that I am confident of, is that God had plans for my life long before I was born.
Yes.
Jeremiah 1:5 says that before I was in the womb, that God thought about me. He knew me way before I was born. And so that gives me an assurance that I am worth so much, regardless of my limitations and my imperfections. I am somebody special to God.
Absolutely.
That's so true.
Yes. And, you know, I believe that God not only thought about me, but He had a special plan, a special mission for my life. He has plans to prosper me and not to harm me. Plans to give me a hope and a future. And so that's something I'm confident of. It's something I'm very sure of.
Amen. Well, as you think about perseverance, we've heard recently Brother Jesse Rincones in a different challenge sharing that sometimes the discouragement comes from within and not externally. But what are some pillars of truth internally that you really cling to and that help you to persevere?
One of those pillars of truth is one of God's promises to us. He says that we're never going to be alone. You know, He promised to be with us always. The psalmist says that God is our refuge and strength. He is our ever-present help in trouble. And so that pillar verse of truth, it's real real to me. It tells me that I'm not alone, regardless of what I go through in life. I am never alone. He's always with me, always ready to help. But I also realize that in this world, we're gonna face problems and difficulties. But Jesus says in John 16:33, in this world you'll face trouble. It means that life is not easy. It means that we're going to go through difficulties in life, but He also says, take heart, for I have overcome the world.
Amen.
And I know that if He has overcome, then we can overcome as well.
Amen. That's a great word.
That verse that I referenced in James earlier, I love that it doesn't say if you face trials. It says
Right.
whenever you face trials, consider it pure joy. And
Yes.
just acknowledging that the Lord has a greater plan for us and that He is weaving this beautiful picture together.
Amen.
Can you take us back to a time where you felt tempted to give up and how the Lord helped you overcome that temptation?
Yes, when I was a teenager, I was a very confident young man. I was fortunate enough to be born in a home with loving parents who taught me the importance to believe in God, the importance to serve God with all my gifts. and talents. At the age of 14, I became a worship director. And I had the opportunity to serve God with all my gifts and all my energy. I was very popular in school. I had everything I could ever ask for in life as a young teenager. But when I was 17 years old, I was in a car accident that left me in a wheelchair. I suffered a spinal cord injury, and 2 days later, I learned that I wasn't going to be able to walk again, nor have full functions of my fingers. It was at that time where I was tempted to fall into depression. It was at that time where I was tempted to end my dreams and even my education. It was at that time where I felt defeated and weak. But with the help of God and my family, I was reminded that God does not look at our inability, rather He looks at our availability.
Amen.
And I was encouraged by my father and my entire family to keep dreaming. I was encouraged to continue with my dreams, to continue with my educations, and to continue with the plans that God had for my life. And so I understood that whatever the enemy planned for destruction, God was going to use that to bring glory to His name, and He's done that in my life.
That's just really powerful, and I just think about students or viewers that are thinking about their inability right now, thinking about what they have going against them versus that the Lord is calling them to be available. What advice would you give that viewer who's struggling with that?
I would advise them that even in moments where we feel vulnerable and weak, you have to remember that it's not about us.
Amen.
It's about the God that lives in us.
Right.
And, you know, Paul was right to say that we can do all things through Christ who gives us the strength. And he's clear about that. It is He who gives us the strength because, like I said, He overcame and so can we.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, we have a saying around our show, and that's to be stubbornly focused on Christ. And I think that something that our prayer is that folks are eternity focused. I know that you and I have talked about that we are focused on eternity, that God would shed light on what we're doing in our earthly life and what our earthly assignments are and how they're connected to our eternal assignments. You are about to enter a PhD program, is that correct?
That's right. I'm taking classes in order to pursue my doctoral work next summer. And so I'm continuing to dream, and I continue to aim high when it comes to education. I believe that God can and wants to use me in a great way. And so I want to do everything that I can in order to fulfill God's plan for my life.
And so with the PhD program, can you tell us a little bit about what you feel the Lord calling you to do with the PhD program, and maybe help us to know what you feel the Lord putting on your heart as far as using the PhD program for your eternal purpose?
Right. For 10 years, I've had the opportunity to work with students, and it is a joy for me to know that I can make a difference in the life of a student that is searching. It's searching for their purpose in life, for God's will. And so with the PhD program, it just gives me a greater opportunity to continue working with students, guiding them into the plan that God has for them, but most importantly, helping them find their purpose in life. That's far greater than anything we can accomplish. And that's what my dream is once I complete this next project in my life.
That's exciting. We congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm encouraged by your story, and I know that others would be as well, in that persevering, your talents and your gifts that the Lord gave you. My wife is a worship minister, leader, and I understand that, you know, being able to play an instrument, being able to share that part really brings joy to her heart. But I'm encouraged by your story, brother, that even though your focus was changed slightly, you continue to love the Lord with your gifts and talents. And one of those gifts, and I don't know that people always consider it, is our mind. Is to love the Lord with this incredible mind.
Amen.
That we barely scratch the surface of using intentionally.
Yes.
And I know just from being around you that you cast vision. You provide leadership, and so often where I feel like if students are struggling, you help guide them to get refocused,
Yes.
to love the Lord with all their minds. I know you work with a lot of college students.
Yes.
What would you say to college students about getting ready to go to college?
You know, one of the things that I would tell them is you might not know exactly what you're going to do in 5 years or in 10 years, but it's important that you do everything you can to be prepared, to be ready for that call that God has for you in the future. And you might have struggles, whether financially, physically, but again, it is He who gives us the strength to continue and to pursue the goals and the dreams that God has for us. I had many challenges that threatened those dreams in my life, but I was confident that greater was He in me than He who is in the world.
Amen.
And I continue to pursue my dreams that way. So I would definitely encourage them that way.
The other piece of that is we know that parents are watching and church members, and something we talk about a lot is church culture. How can the church support students? What would you tell parents and church members how they can specifically rally around the students in their church? What have you seen really resonates with students, and what advice would you give them?
You know, it's important for the church to promote education as much as possible. It's important that we educate our young students in how to, for example, get scholarship, how to have maybe a college fair in our church, and just educate not only the student but the parents about the availabilities there are here in Texas and the United States. We have to do our part in making sure that every student in our congregation has the opportunity to go to college.
Yes.
So I would advise them to explore various avenues into providing that information for our students.
You know, the college fair concept might be new for some. Can you talk a little bit about how that works, what that looks like?
Absolutely. A college fair is a time we set apart to have universities visit our church. And so in a college fair, students have the opportunity to talk to representatives from colleges all over the United States. And so when you expose students to such a setting, it opens their mind. You know, and when we do that, we encourage students to love God with all our minds. And so that's definitely something every congregation should pursue.
That's exciting for like compañerismos, and
That's
when
right.
you have groups of students come together, campamentos, that would be a great time to invite, because I know that we've been talking about taking the students to the college campus, and that's one way, but another way is hosting universities to come and praying over those. In particular, Christian universities would welcome to be prayed over, but it's a great ministering opportunity as well.
Absolutely. And I love the idea of coming to the church, but you work on a campus as well, brother. And having young students come and visit the campus almost seems to me, I grew up playing sports, like as a youngster going to a Major League Baseball game. And being in a stadium and watching folks in a professional environment, which the academia is, and being able to say, wow, one day I want to be there.
That's right.
And so I would imagine that you've seen that work as an encouragement with students as well.
Absolutely. At Baptist University of the Americas, we often organize events where we invite not only college students, but high school students as well, so that they can come and have a feel of what it is to be in college. And so when students have that opportunity, their mind again opens and they see themselves in college.